Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. The Buddha. These words have echoed across centuries like a gentle bell in the wind, reminding us, quietly but clearly, that true rest is not something we chase, but something we uncover within. Tonight, you're going to discover how. I'll share with you 4 Zen stories, each one simple, like a cup of tea on a quiet morning, yet deep as the stillness beneath a mountain lake. Stories that hold no rush, no demand, only the soft power to help your mind release, your body soften, and your heart return to the calm that's always been there, waiting. Each story is a doorway. Each one holds a quiet key, guiding you not through effort, but through allowing. These teachings aren't just for monks. They're for anyone who has ever felt overwhelmed, restless, or simply longed to breathe more deeply into their own life. And as we journey through 4 stories, you may begin to notice something beautiful. Your thoughts start to slow. The noise begins to fade. And peace, true peace, starts to rise from within. So now, make yourself comfortable. Adjust your pillow. Let your body sink into the bed like a stone resting in a still pond. Breathe in softly, and as you exhale, feel yourself arriving. This is the beginning. 4 stories, 1 truth. When the mind rests, everything rests. Let's start with story 1, the raven and the mirror of desire. Some teachings arrive like thunder, loud, abrupt, unmissable. Others, like this one, come quietly, like a shadow gliding across your shoulder. You do not notice it until it stirs something deep inside. On the edge of a forest where the trees leaned in to listen, there lived a raven named Sora. His feathers were like ink against the sky, and though his wings carried him high, his heart remained tethered to sorrow. "Why was I born this way?" he often muttered, watching the swans with their elegance, the parrots with their colors, the peacocks with their admiration. Sora didn't see flight as freedom. He saw it as exile, his voice harsh to his own ears, his form unwelcome wherever he went. "If only I were different," he would whisper into the wind. "Perhaps then I could be happy." One day, perched above a solitary monk meditating beneath an old tree, Sora's grief finally broke loose. A single tear slipped from his eye and landed softly on the monk's robe. The monk opened his eyes and looked up, his gaze gentle, his voice warmer than the morning sun. "Why such sorrow, friend?" And with that, Sora poured out all that weighed him down. The longing, the loneliness, the ache of not being someone else. The monk listened without interruption, and when the raven finished, he smiled and said simply, "Then ask those you envy. Return and tell me what they say." What followed was not just a journey across skies, but a journey into the hidden chambers of desire itself. Pause for a moment, breathe slowly, and ask yourself, have you ever looked upon another life and thought, if only that were mine? This story invites us to witness a pattern so subtle we often mistake it for truth. The idea that someone else's life, appearance, or path must surely bring more joy than our own. Sora visited the swan first, pure, graceful, gliding across water like poetry made real. But the swan, in a voice soft and weary, confessed, "I am tired of being watched. I long to fly as freely as you." Then to the parrot, whose feathers danced with all the colors of sunrise. But the parrot sighed, "They love my beauty, but they never hear my heart. I wish I could go unnoticed just once." And the peacock, magnificent, adorned, worshipped, yet behind the brilliance was a cage. "I am seen," he said, "but not known. My beauty has become my prison." And so Sora began to see. Each bird lived inside its own longing. Each one from the outside seemed complete, but from the inside carried silent burdens, unseen by others. In Buddhism, we call this tanha, thirst or craving. It is the root of suffering, not the thing itself, but our attachment to the idea that something outside of us holds the key to happiness. The mirror of desire never shows us the truth. It reflects an imagined life dressed in assumptions, and the more we gaze into it, the more distorted our vision becomes. Sora had spent so long believing his sorrow was because of who he was, but now he saw. It wasn't his feathers that bound him. It was the thought, I should be someone else. The monk, upon hearing Sora's return, smiled and said, "Freedom is not given, it is realized. You have always had it." And Sora, looking at his own reflection in the still pond, no longer saw shame. He saw wings. He saw sky. He saw enough. Can we do the same? Each day we are offered 1,000 mirrors, social media, passing conversations, advertisements, even compliments. And with each, a whisper, you could be more. You should be different. But peace does not come from reshaping ourselves to fit another's mold. It comes from seeing clearly what we already are. Let's not become birds trapped in golden cages of comparison. Instead, return to the breath, to the body, to this moment. Feel the texture of your own life and remember, someone out there may be looking at you and thinking, if only I could be like them. True gratitude begins not in having more, but in wanting less. And that begins in seeing clearly. As the Buddha taught, contentment is the greatest wealth. Tonight, if your heart feels like Sora's once did, aching to be anyone but yourself, sit quietly, breathe, look within. You may find beneath the longing a deeper truth waiting. You were born with open wings. Let us now turn to story 2. In a valley veiled by morning mist, there lived a young man named Kaito. On the surface, his life appeared calm. A quiet home, gentle hills, a village that slept peacefully through the night. But within Kaito, a storm brewed endlessly. His mind swirled with regrets, worries, and imagined failures. Long after the lanterns dimmed, he lay awake, entangled in thoughts that pulled him in every direction but here. One dawn, tired of fighting the waves in his own mind, Kaito climbed toward the sky. They said that atop Mount Ishin, where the clouds kiss the earth, a Zen master lived who could teach the art of peace. With every step, Kaito shed a little of his restlessness, like leaves falling from a burdened tree. When he reached the summit, he found the master tending a garden where stones and moss spoke in silence. No words were exchanged. The master simply led him to a stone basin brimming with water. Beside it, a ceramic bowl, simple and small. "Transfer this water," the master said, "without spilling a drop." It sounded easy, but soon Kaito found it was anything but. Each time he dipped the bowl, his hands shook. His breath caught. His mind raced with strategies. Should I scoop quickly? Should I pour from the edge? What if I fail again? The basin seemed no emptier than before, while the water he spilled soaked the stones at his feet. Hours passed. And then, seeing Kaito's breath quicken, his shoulders tense, the master finally spoke again. "To empty the basin, you must first empty yourself." Let us pause here, dear friend. Take a slow breath, as if it were the only breath that mattered. Feel the air arrive and leave like a wave on the shore. Ask yourself gently, is there space within you? Or have your thoughts filled every corner? So often, we are like Kaito. We approach life's tasks with a mind already overflowing, crowded with past hurts, imagined futures, self-judgment, and unspoken fears. And like Kaito, we try to perform with precision while our inner hands tremble. The basin in this story is not just water. It is everything we carry. Every should, every what if, every silent burden. The bowl is this moment. Small, sacred, enough. When our minds are too full, we pour sloppily. Not because we lack skill, but because we lack stillness. The task itself is neutral. What we bring to it, our energy, our attention, our clarity, is what makes the difference. The Buddha often reminded his disciples to begin not by adding more effort, but by subtracting what is unnecessary. Just as a tree with too many branches cannot bear fruit, he said, a mind with too many desires cannot know peace. Kaito's journey was not about perfect technique. It was about presence, about learning that stillness is not the absence of action, but the quality of it. Stillness is what allows us to act without being consumed by action. When Kaito stopped trying to succeed and started listening, to the wind, to the silence, to his own breath, his movements softened. He poured with care, not calculation, and the basin began to empty. This is the quiet turning point of the story. The task didn't change. Kaito did, and so too with us. When you feel overwhelmed, when your hands fumble with the weight of life, ask, am I full? Have I paused? Have I allowed a little space inside for peace to enter? You don't need to fix your thoughts. Just notice them. Let them pass like clouds. Your breath can be the bowl, your stillness the path. Try it, even now. Let one thought go. You don't have to push it. Just set it down for a moment. What does that feel like? Because in truth, peace isn't a reward you earn by completing the task. Peace is the way you hold the task. It is the tone of your attention, the softness of your presence. You may think, but my life is too busy. I don't have time to slow down. And yet we waste far more time in inner turbulence than we do in gentle awareness. A mind that slows becomes efficient in a different way. It sees clearly. It chooses wisely. It acts without regret. When we tie a shoelace with presence, it becomes meditation. When we listen fully, the other feels seen. When we breathe into the ordinary, we discover the extraordinary. Kaito did not defeat his restless mind. He befriended it. He listened to its storm and chose not to be swept away. So, dear friend, if today you feel like your basin is full and your bowl too small, know this: you don't need a new bowl. You need a new breath. Return to the simplest thing. One moment, one breath, one quiet act. Because still water reflects the moon, not because it tries, but because it rests. We now arrive at the third story, the empty boat. Each story is a window, and this one opens to the still waters of a quiet river, where a lesson as deep as the current awaits. In a small village wrapped in silence and soft winds, there lived a man named Ren. Each evening, as the sun bowed low and the sky turned to gold, Ren would untie his small wooden boat and glide onto the river. It was a ritual of peace. The world, with its noise and hurry, would fall away. The water would whisper, the oars would creak softly, and Ren would simply be. But on one such evening, as he drifted into this sacred stillness, he saw another boat just ahead, floating toward him. At first, he called out with kindness, "Careful!" The boat did not change course. It came closer. Ren's brow furrowed. "Watch where you're going!" he shouted, louder now. Still, the boat moved on, unbothered. His chest tightened, his voice sharpened. Frustration rose like a fast-moving tide. Who would be so careless, he thought? Who interrupts peace with such disregard? And then, bump, the two boats collided. Ren stood, heart racing, ready to unleash his anger. But as he peered into the other boat, There was no one. The boat was empty. It had not been steered. It had not ignored him. It had not meant to disturb. It had simply been carried by the current. And in that moment, as suddenly as the boat had arrived, Ren's anger dissolved. Like mist touched by morning sun, it vanished. There was nothing to be angry at. There never had been. Pause now. Let your breath slow, like a leaf resting on still water. Let your shoulders soften. Can you remember a moment, just one, when you reacted quickly, sharply, because you thought someone meant to harm or offend you? Was the boat that struck you truly guided by a hand? This story, so simple, reveals a truth that flows quietly beneath much of our suffering. We mistake drifting events for personal attacks. We assign intention where there may be none. The boat becomes not just a vessel, but a symbol of every moment that bumps into us in life, unexpected, uninvited, and often unexplained. The Buddha once said, "You will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger." You see, the pain does not come from the bump, but from the belief that someone meant to hurt us, that we were wronged, that we are separate, and must defend our peace from others. But what if the boat is empty? In Zen, the empty boat is a powerful metaphor for ego and projection. It shows us how quickly we fill the unknown with our own stories. They don't respect me. They always do this. They should have known better. Yet often there is no they at all. Only conditions, stress, fatigue, misunderstanding, timing. Life flowing through its patterns like a boat carried by the river. Ren's transformation came not from controlling the river or avoiding all collisions. It came from seeing clearly. The boat was never against him. It was simply there. In your own life, consider, how many empty boats do you meet each day? The person who cuts in line, the friend who forgets to reply, the stranger who looks through you as if you're invisible. And now consider, what happens when you pause before reacting? When you ask, is this boat truly being steered? Or is it simply passing through, like wind across the grass? You are not a victim of every ripple. You are the river too. When we release the need to personalize every bump, a great freedom arises. We stop rowing against ghosts. We stop arguing with shadows. And in that release, there is peace. Not because the world has changed, but because we have changed. In the way we see, in the way we meet each moment. Let your mind rest like the surface of a still pond. Let the boat pass. The river moves on, and so can you. Let's begin our final story with a riddle in disguise. What becomes louder the more you try to silence it? The answer, as many discover through meditation, is the mind itself. Welcome to Story 4, The Mantra and the Monkey. A troubled man once climbed the mist-shrouded path to visit a revered Zen master. His face was tight with frustration, his eyes shadowed by sleepless nights. "Master," he said breathlessly, "my mind is a battlefield. Thoughts strike like arrows. Regrets, fears, desires. They rise like waves and never stop. I beg you, give me a mantra to silence them, anything that works." The master gazed at him with kindness, as still as the mountain stone beneath him. "Meditate daily," he said softly. "With time, your thoughts will soften, like ripples settling on a pond." But the man shook his head. "No, master, I've tried. Each time I sit, more thoughts come. Dark ones, loud ones. I want peace now. Give me a shortcut, a sacred phrase, a chant. Anything but stillness." The master paused. Then, as if offering a great secret, he leaned in and whispered a mantra into the man's ear. "Chant this alone each morning," he said. "But there is one condition. as you chant, do not think of a monkey." The man blinked, puzzled. "A monkey? Why would I think of that?" He laughed. "Now close your eyes for a breath, dear one, and for the next few moments. Don't think of a monkey. Did it appear? Here lies the hidden gate of this story's teaching. The monkey is not just a creature of the forest. It is a symbol of the mind's reactive nature. The more we resist a thought, the more we reinforce it. Just as a child told not to look at the cookie jar now sees nothing but the cookie jar, our minds fixate on what we forbid. This is the paradox of thought. To fight it is to feed it. The man returned home with his secret mantra and began to chant. Yet each morning, without fail, the monkey appeared, swinging from trees, grinning from shadows, even dancing across the faces of those he loved. He tried everything. He bathed in cold water. He lit incense. He chanted louder. Still the monkey remained. Desperate and exhausted, he returned to the master weeks later. "You have cursed me," he cried. "Before I had many thoughts. Now I have one. And it's always a monkey." The master smiled gently. "No," he said. "I only showed you what was already there. You see now, it was never the monkey. It was your mind chasing itself." The man stood in silence. The words settled slowly, like dust in light. And then, as if on cue, the monkey vanished. In Buddhism, we often refer to the monkey mind, a mind that leaps from branch to branch, idea to idea, desire to fear and back again. It is not broken. It is not wrong. It is simply untrained. The path is not to cage the monkey, but to observe it, to see its dance without joining in. Unpacking the metaphor. The monkey represents our compulsive resistance, our need to control what arises in the mind. The mantra, initially seen as a tool for peace, becomes a trap because of the condition placed upon it. Do not think. But this is the very instruction that empowers the thought. The more we try to silence, the more noise we make. This is the mind's paradox. When we grasp, we tighten. When we chase away, we summon. True stillness is not the absence of thought, but the absence of struggle. The master did not curse the man. He awakened him. The monkey was always within. The suffering began not with the thought, but with the fight against it. And so, the great lesson of this tale is not how to get rid of monkeys, but how to stop feeding them. In our own lives, we try to force peace. We say, "I must stop worrying. I must let this go. I must not feel this." And in doing so, we resist what is and therefore suffer. As the Buddha taught, you only lose what you cling to. Instead of controlling the mind like a wild beast, let us watch it like a curious friend. See its patterns, hear its echoes, and let them pass. Meditation is not about having no thoughts. It is about not clinging to them. Just as clouds drift across the sky without altering the sky, thoughts pass through awareness without changing who you are. Sit quietly, breathe, feel the rise and fall, and if a monkey appears, smile gentle. Do nothing. It too will go, because the monkey fades not when caged, but when no longer chased. As our journey through these 4 Zen parables draws to a close, let us return, not to an ending, but to a stillness that has been quietly flowing beneath it all. We began with simple stories, yet each held the depth of a mountain stream, guiding us not outward, but inward. And what we found there, beneath the words, was not doctrine or demand, but a mirror. You've walked with Kaito, who learned that peace does not come from trying harder, but from softening within. His lesson reminds us that effort without stillness only stirs the waters. You've drifted alongside Ren, who discovered that not all collisions need an enemy. Often it is our assumption of intent that generates the storm. not the event itself. You've soared with Sora, who shed the cage of comparison and found beauty in his own wings, realizing that freedom begins with acceptance of what is. And you've sat beside the nameless seeker, whose battle with the monkey mind taught us that thoughts don't disappear through struggle, but through seeing them clearly and letting go. These stories, though ancient in spirit, are deeply modern in relevance. They speak to the inner landscapes we all navigate, places where fear, desire, and the longing to control rise and fall like tides. They speak to the quiet pressure to be more, to do more, to hold together what is already whole. And more importantly, they invite us not to rise above life, but to settle more gently into it, to touch it not with force, but with reverence. The Buddha never promised a life without noise. He did not tell us to eliminate thoughts, suppress emotion, or pretend we are not human. Instead, he offered something far more liberating: the wisdom to see clearly and the courage to remain open. He pointed to the root of suffering not in life itself, but in our clinging, in the way we relate to change, loss, and discomfort. He taught that craving, aversion, and the illusion of a fixed self are the true thieves of peace. And liberation, vimutti, does not arrive through escape, but through deep presence. The Buddha likened the mind to a monkey, jumping from branch to branch, restless and untrained. Yet he also reminded us, this same mind, when observed with gentleness and clarity, becomes a field of wisdom. Through sati, mindfulness, vipassana, insight, and metta, loving kindness, we cultivate the ground of awareness. And in this ground, even wild thoughts can land softly, like leaves on a still pond. This, dear one, is the river beneath all things. Beneath the basin of your thoughts, behind the boat of your anger, beneath the feathers of your comparisons, and even behind the monkeys leaping in your mind. There is space, spacious awareness, vast, open, unconditioned. This space is not created through effort. It is revealed through release. And this is what the Buddha called nibbana, the extinguishing not of life, but of the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. A coolness, a ceasing of agitation, a return to what has always been present, the still, clear knowing that witnesses all things without judgment. You don't need to fix yourself before resting. You don't need to stop all thoughts before sleeping. You only need to remember the basin will empty, the boat will pass, the raven will land, the monkey will fade, and you will be held by something quieter than thought and deeper than fear. So as you close your eyes tonight, do not force the silence. Let it rise naturally, like mist from the earth. Let your breath become the boat. Let your body become the riverbank. Let your heart become the open sky. Breathe in slowly. Feel the warmth of your own body. Feel the gravity that holds you, not as pressure, but as presence. Let go. You are not falling. You are floating, and the river beneath all things is carrying you home. Good night, dear one. May your sleep be deep and your dreams be light. May your breath remember the teachings long after this voice has faded. May your heart become a soft lantern, lighting the path back to yourself. Rest well. You are already enough, and peace, like the river, is already here.